Welcome to the Pathway today. Our last one for the book of James. We have finished our study, but I've realized now it's like the practice time. When I actually got to do the stuff I've been reading for the last 5 chapters. So I pulled Neil in with me today because one of these last verses in chapter 5 has this really interesting line. He says, "Is anyone cheerful? Let him sing psalms." So I touched on that in the message, but it's actually interesting because the Greek word behind that word, psalm, like I hear psalm and I immediately think of the book of the Bible. But if you notice in James, it's lowercase, because it really is just a regular word. And when you look up what it means to pluck a string. So he's basically saying, hey, if you're cheerful, go get the guitar, I guess you don't pull out a piano, but sit down at the piano and pluck out a tune. Play a song and use that to worship God. So Neil, when you hear that, psalms, like spiritual songs, like what's rolling through your mind? What are those?
Yeah, so obviously like your mind goes to the Psalms, and I love that you pulled out that slide with all the different Psalms and the songs that tie into that. Some of those are my favorites, like Psalm 23, House of God Forever. Was it Psalm 77 was Egypt?
Yeah.
But yeah, just so many of those, and I love to think about, like as you're speaking about Psalms, like how that relates to the modern worship songs that we sing every single Sunday morning. I mean, there's many times where I want to come in and I want to be pumped up and sing songs of joy that are like a Psalm 100 type songs.
Right.
But then there's other moments where it's a Psalm 23 type of song, like Lord, I need you, or Run to the Father, or even like one we were talking about earlier this morning, was it Psalm 17? Where it's crying out to the Lord.
Yes.
Like having that heart that's like, you're just
13.
kind of pouring. Psalm 13.
13, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Maybe Psalm 17 too. Look it up.
They're both good, I'm sure.
So yeah, just pouring out your heart, just opening up yourself. And I think that, especially the way that David wrote, like he captures the human experience, like of life. It's not all joys. It's not all highs. Sometimes it's lows. Sometimes we're feeling broken, and the Lord still wants us to come to him in worship.
Yeah, I think as we think about the kind of songs we choose on a weekend, for example, when I'm worshiping personally, I might know what mood I'm in and what I need.
Yeah.
Right? When you're preparing something for our whole church family,
Yep.
you don't necessarily know. And so there are, like, let's pull a little bit of this, let's pull some of this, look at the passage, what connects, as well as just thinking about how do I make sure that we have music that sings about God, but also sings directly to God. That part of my worship can be things like Run to the Father, that's describing him, but other times it lets you just say, I need you, right?
Yeah.
And we love kind of that balance that reminds me of truth. So maybe as you think about for people who are going to say, okay, I hear you, I'm willing to take you up on it, I haven't done a lot of that, what helps you stay locked in on Psalms, worship music, between Sundays?
Yeah, I think it's really just about, just finding what speaks to your heart, and a lot of times it are those songs that pull from Scripture. And I think they speak so much to us because it's like, oh, this is from the Word. So I have my own personal worship list that some of the songs will never make it to the stage, but it's the way that I can sing those. I can be alone in my truck and I'm like weeping because these songs just really just bring me to that presence of God, just feeling that closeness with him. So I would encourage people outside of Sunday morning, like keep singing, keep lifting your voice to the Lord.
I have my personal worship set too. I always tease Neil because
probably than mine even.
One of mine is the Supertones, which is like a
Ska
90s
music.
Christian ska band.
Yeah.
So if you're into that, OC Supertones.
Maybe that's for you.
Very good. Maybe that's for you. If you're not, that's why I recommend the Horizon app. Those are going to be songs you're familiar with that we play from our stage if you want to pull up one of those worship sets. And sometimes it's hearing one of those triggers you to go and find other things. Sometimes I'll even just go search, like, hey, is there a song based on Psalm 51, or something like that. So whatever it is that's helpful to you, we encourage you, spend some time this week in the Psalms, in those songs, in those spiritual musical pieces that help you focus on God, but also just sing to God. And we'll see you next week as our first pathway of Zechariah begins.